to first show you the equipment you need, and then I'll let Craig walk you through the warm-up. So pretty simple today, which is nice because I know yesterday I was a little complex with what I used. But we're going to have a band, and this is of course optional. So if you don't have a band at home, don't worry. This will be for clams, right? So we can use this just an added challenge. If you have the longer bands, we can just kind of double those up. Craig also has a 25-pound kettlebell. Kettlebells are awesome, but we can also use a dumbbell, a med ball, a gallon jug, anything else that you can use. 25 pounds for this is great, so we can go a little bit heavier than we're used to. So something comparable to that weight. That's it, right?
Yep.
All right, I'll let you run through.
Elevated surface, because that will be
elevated
on the
surface.
table. Yep. So like the edge of your couch would probably be perfect, because it doesn't need to be a hard surface. Something kind of just rest your shoulders on.
You're just gonna be resting for a full minute. So.
Take a nap. Minute nap. All right. Warm up today. We'll start with the hip flow. So starting with the head, rocking back and forth 6 times on each side. Roughly 6 times. Alright, then always get those shoulder circles in. 6 forward, then 6 back. Hopefully you guys are excited to come back into the gym. I know we're excited to get people back in here. Alright, we're gonna throw in some torso twists today. Working that transverse plane a little more. Get you guys back in here. Back using some equipment where we can be more creative. More equipment, we're not stuck to just resistance bands and kettlebells. Hip circles. I'm sure you guys are getting tired of using your home objects. Alright, make sure you get both directions with these hip circles. Alright, coming down onto the ground, we'll go 3 down dogs. Breathing. And on this last one, as you come back, kick that left leg up and forward, taking your left elbow, pushing that knee out, opening up those hips, going about 6 on each side, and then we'll go with the threading the needle, reaching that arm through, and then up towards the ceiling, reach through, up to the ceiling. Alright, and then hip dip, so that right hip, gonna dip down to the ground. And then we'll come up into a warrior lunge, rocking back, and then forward 6 times. Try to get nice and low. I'm not the best example, but I'm trying my best. Alright, I'll go for 1 more on this side. And we're going to come back down onto the ground into that down dog position again. 3 more. And we'll transition and do everything on the right side. Breathing nice and deep. Alright, on this last one, kick that right leg back, step forward, taking that inside elbow, pressing that knee out, opening up our hips, right into threading that needle, so reaching through, then up to the sky. Reach through, drive that elbow to the ground. Nice opener for that thoracic spine. and then staying in this lunge position, still opening up those hips. Alright, last one, we're going to dip our left hip to the ground. And then we'll come back into this warrior lunge 6 times. Try to keep that back straight, stay nice and tall. Alright, and we'll finish off just with, we'll go for about 6 nice big reaches up towards the sky, coming back down, reach up, coming up onto your toes, really reaching for the sky, and the last one. Awesome. Nice and warmed up. Let's see if Georgia has her timer. Does she?
I do.
Oh,
that's why
pocket.
you can't get me. Oops, but it's not set correctly, so.
Of course.
Okay, so let's go through the exercises real quick. So the first thing you'll do is using that elevated surface that Craig talked about. So couch, kind of just get into that position he's in here. His shoulder blades, the top of his back is resting on it. He starts with his hips dropped low and then brings them up into a hip bridge. He's doing the variation where he's having one leg up, which is probably pretty challenging.
Yep. It's tired.
Yeah, so we'll do a minute each side. To make this easier, right? We decided that?
Yep.
To make this easier, you can just do what he's doing and keep both feet planted. If you want to try the single leg, but this is a little too challenging here, then you can simply move to the floor and just do the single leg bridge as well. Like he's doing here.
Double leg or single leg.
Yep. Then, staying in this position, Craig will show you what a reverse plank looks like. 2 options here. This option, he has straight arms, and then the next option, he will be on forearms. Do you find one of them harder?
My elbows is a little trickier, I think, but yeah, really pushing my hips up, staying nice and straight.
Yep. And the one thing on that is I know some people do complain it can be hard on the wrist in the straight arm position. So play around with both. We have a couple times through this, and so you can find the one you like the best. Next one we'll be using the weight for. We're going to do a squat, catch, press. So each move, here's the squat, catch, and then press and overhead. So he lowers it into a squat and kind of pops that weight up and goes back into another half squat to catch it and then presses it up overhead. Cool. Back down to the floor, there's a lot of up and down with this. It's great. Bicycle crunches. So he's just driving opposite elbow to opposite knee, keeping that back pressed, breathing. And a great thing is, for those of you who do have bands, we can put a band. Did you wash your socks recently? Probably not. It doesn't smell like it. So you can push out against the band, just that extra resistance, and really get that extension through the bottom leg, or the pushing leg. Awesome. So keeping this band, you're going to bring it right up. Craig has about an inch or so above his knees. He's going to get in a clam position here. So knees are bent. I'm actually going to kick his feet out just a little bit. Perfect. And he does a great job of rolling that hip forward. So from here, he's going to raise that knee. And it's not a huge movement, and that's really good. That means he's actually pressing his hips forward. So if you just feel like your leg is really easily moving, you're not really working much, try to put that hand on that hip and roll that top hip forward to make sure we're isolating to the glutes there. Glutes, there. All right, so that'll be the 5 exercises we'll go through. And then for the cardio portion, we're going to do squat to floor tap. So Craig is going to jump out to a squat, touch the floor. Good. And these, we just want you to go at a pace that you can sustain for a minute. They're supposed to be hard. They're supposed to get your heart rate up. After that, he's going to do split lunge jumps. Good. So he's just jumping from one lunge position to another. If this is a little too challenging, we can just do lunge shuffles. So do you want to go that? So kind of coming here.
Yep.
Just nice and
a little
easy.
less impact.
Yeah, less impact if you're concerned about that.
Yeah, I think it's more tricky for me. I can't do those.
We'll have Craig stick to the split lunges. Okay? Wonderful. So we'll start here in 15 seconds. You're the only person that those are harder for.
I think I just needed to see you do it again. I didn't quite get the rhythm.
Alright, so we'll get set here, and we're going to go in 3, 2, 1, and go. So, good. So Craig slowly and with control drops his hips down. He's not just letting his hips fall to the floor. And then he presses them all the way up until he's got a nice straight line here, all the way from his chest, all the way through his legs. Keeping that leg raised as well. This is one that I've noticed it can be easy to catch yourself holding your breath, which you don't want to do. Are you breathing?
Oh, I am breathing.
Okay, good.
I was breathing a little shallow. So
Yeah.
No, I'm breathing a little heavier.
Good. So it's good to bring that awareness to the breath and make sure we're breathing through this exercise. At the top, I also like to encourage people to give that tailbone a tuck, make sure the core is engaged, and you can try to engage your glutes at the top too, give them a little squeeze. Make sure they're working. All right, 10 more seconds on this side, and then we will switch. These seem hard.
They are hard.
3, 2, 1, and done. Good. I'll give you a little breather between the legs.
My glutes. Yeah, my glutes are going.
Good. It's good for trail running, I hear. All right, let's go ahead and get set. And 3, 2, 1, and go. Good. So this is one where, let's say, so Craig started the first set of this with his right foot planted on the floor and his left leg up, and now he's switched. So next round, I would say we should switch the start of that because what he's probably feeling is that you can really wear yourself out that first minute. So now this side might be working a little harder. So next time we'll start in this position with left foot on the floor, right foot up.
Mental note of that.
Mental note, just like I tell myself to work out barefoot. And that's another good point to bring up too. We've kind of talked about, but Craig and I have actually been starting to do more during these videos, is to go barefoot or wear socks, just to get those stabilizers a little bit better. It's really great for runners, it's great for anybody, so we're trying to practice what we preach. So that's why Craig's in socks. Awesome. All right. So another point to make with this reverse plank, if it's just really uncomfortable or too hard, you can use this elevated surface to start. All right, 3, 2, 1, and go. Good. All right, so one thing I like to do with this, which may not have something, but you can put an object under your hips. So Craig's nice and strong now, hips are up, he's in a good position, but over time it can be really easy for those hips to drop, like he's showing you. So occasionally I'll put something like a med ball, I'll grab one next round. You can put a med ball under your hips, just to make sure, because you'll feel yourself start to sit on it a little bit. But these are good, they always get my hamstrings.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. Especially, I mean, if you're throwing some leg lifts, which I really don't want to do right now, but there's a quick example.
Or if you're a coach and you make your entire team do them till failure, like Craig did when I was on the team. Hardest reverse plank I've ever done in my life.
It was a bunch of different variations of planks.
It was 30 minutes of planking. It was fun. All right, 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. Awesome. All right, so we'll get set up for that squat catch to press. And we'll go here in about 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and go. So I think a kettlebell is probably the most convenient thing to use, but like we said, you can use just about anything for this. Anything that you can hold and catch and press above your head. So Craig has a pretty good tempo here. You want to sustain this pace for that minute and keep that flow going. This is a tricky one because there's really 2 squats. You squat on the way down to touch the weight, and you squat on the way down to catch the weight. And on that press, he's doing a good job. We want to make sure that press is directly overhead. It can be tempting to let the weight fall forward or to arch the back. So make sure that back is nice and straight and the weight is overhead. Good. 25 pounds. That's pretty impressive there, Craig. Almost as impressive as my...
I was trying to impress you.
Nice. It worked. It worked. Are you gonna keep that up the entire workout? 3, 2, 1, and done. Good. Alright, so we'll get set on the ground for our next 2 exercises, which are going to be the bicycle crunches and the clams. So if you do have bands and you want that extra challenge, you can throw them in on both. Or if these are challenging enough, then that's fine. Oh, go. Immediately. Have 15 seconds.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Just take your rest. Good. So there's a rhythm to these as well. The goal is to not get as many as you can in that minute. The goal is to be very slow and controlled. I think these are actually harder and they work your abdominal muscles better when you're slower with it. Especially notice he's extending that bottom leg all the way out straight. Good. Just like our hip bridges, we want to make sure we're breathing here. We're not holding our breath or bearing down. Just letting the breath flow. Or breathing super heavy, you know, whatever. Wherever you're at. 10 more seconds. Good. Three, 2, 1, and done. Awesome. All right. Clams. So Craig is going to set this band above his knees and hopefully not tear out all his leg hair. There's a lot. All right. 3, 2, 1, and go. Good. So I really do recommend keeping that top hand where Craig has it at the hips. It can help keep you in check and not let those hips fall back. So you want those hips rotated forward, so it should almost feel like you're pressing those hips towards the ground. And that just gets it so we can actually activate the glute a little bit better while we do this. Preparing the glute for those lunge jumps.
Oh yeah.
Good pair right there. So we'll do a minute each side for these. So this band, some people have the short bands. They obviously work really great here. The long bands can be doubled up to use here, which is another kind of route to do that. Another challenge you can do is put an object between your feet and squeeze it with your feet while you do these. Yep. There's Craig's imaginary object there. All right, ready? And we'll switch. Let's go to that other side.
Ready to do it?
No, we'll give you your rest. It's round 1. I'll be nice.
You like how I placed the clams right before the cardio?
Yeah.
Give us a little break, guys.
Yep, smart. I see what you did. This is another one. We talked about this when we did the hip bridge. But what's happening right now is obviously your top leg is working, that side of your hips and your glute. But the leg on the ground, that glute is also working too to press down into the ground. And so this is another one where I really like it to have people switch. So Craig started moving his left leg first, and then now we're onto his right. So next time we'll start with the right, if we remember. But you will remember at home no matter what. And so it is normal for the second side to feel harder for that reason. Feeling that, Craig?
Yep.
Cool. All right, guys, 10 more seconds. And then we'll be on to that cardio. And I know you guys are excited for the trivia. It's a good one. 2, 1, and done. Awesome. All right, so we'll start with the squat to floor taps. How do I get out of your way here? Oh, I'll get in your way. All right, and go. I don't know if I actually gave you guys 15 seconds. But you were down on the floor resting during the clams. All right, so Craig is doing a great job of hopping out to that wide squat. And from my angle, I can see it really well. He's keeping the weight back in his heels. His knees are not going past his toes. Super important. If the impact is a problem, if there's any joint problems you have that won't allow you to jump, then you can simply do a quick step out, a shuffle step out
And go to the side.
Yep,
too.
side, perfect. Yep, a lot of things to keep that heart rate up. Craig needed that little break anyways.
These glutes, these quads, they're burning.
It's good. Got a 100-mile race to prepare for.
Oh yeah.
If you do well, it'll be because of this workout right here.
This specific workout.
This one, I want part of the prize Yes.
Mostly from who wrote it, not who's instructing
Mostly
it.
from who gave you the trivia during it. All right, let's go immediately into those alternating split lunges. So I think control is more important than speed for these. This is a good one for Craig. And for those of you at home, that's probably a good view for them too. You'll notice he's landing pretty softly and he's driving that knee straight down. Good. So this will throw you off balance. It should. You're going to work to correct that. Do you want to know how many seconds you have left?
No. You know they're burning. You know I'm hurting.
I do. You could try to show them the shuffle method. That's so sad. Looks like every runner after a workout. All right, well, how about this? You have less than 15 seconds. You guys are doing awesome at home. You're probably doing better than this.
Probably.
All right, good job. Last 5 seconds. Couple more jumps each side. 3, 2, 1. Done. Good. Awesome. All right, we're going to give Craig a break. He needs it. So we'll see you back here in 2 minutes. All right, we're back, and I'm back with trivia. Here, I'll switch your spots.
Trivia better help because
I don't know if
this
you
is gonna
guys
be
were
wrong.
hurting as bad as Craig, but he was not in good shape the last 2 minutes.
You guys are probably in better shape than I am. I don't know. My legs are dead from running.
All right, let's go in 3, 2, 1, and go. So just nice and steady with these. We'll just find that rhythm, okay? So the topic I chose today was not space, as promised in the last episode, because we realized we did space already. I chose the Olympics because they're such a cool thing. We all enjoy watching them. And then our sport of running, that's just obviously like the peak that an athlete can get to is to compete at the Olympic Games. So I thought it would be fun to learn a little bit more about it.
Oh yeah.
See how much Craig knows about it.
I not that much.
We'll see. So we'll start with when and where did the first Olympic Games take place?
Rome?
No.
I don't know. A very long time ago.
A very long time ago is correct. Excellent.
BC?
Yes, BCE. It was actually 8th century BCE, so a very long time ago. Which is kind of cool that it's been going on that long. And it was set up very similarly. Wonderful. Good. Give you 15 seconds rest here. Yeah, but they did the same cycle where they did it once every 4 years. And the start of it was, I'll give you a hint is, and go. A hint is that it's called the Olympics. So it's based
Olympia.
on Olympia. Yep. Olympia, Greece is where it started.
Greece, yeah.
I don't know why.
Not
For
Olympia,
some reason I was like
Washington.
so set on Rome. I don't know
Yeah, no.
why I said that.
That's okay. We'll forgive you.
Maybe I was thinking
gladiators.
Right. Different genre there.
Wait, they don't have gladiators in the Olympics?
Maybe they did at the beginning. To go along with this, what did they wear? What was the typical wear during?
Nothing.
Yeah, they
Nude.
were nude.
Birthday suits.
Yes, that is how the Olympics. So things have changed, obviously. So they were held every 4 years until the 4th century. So the 4th century Common Era, when they were stopped for quite a while. Do you know why they were stopped?
Black plague.
No.
No, dang it.
No. 3, 2, 1, done. I think that's a good guess, though. All right, let's set up for that reverse plank while Craig thinks about this.
Was it like a disease, like a crisis, like a world crisis?
No, this was a decision.
A
Ready
decision.
and go. As you're thinking about this trivia question, make sure to keep those hips up.
Let's see. Is it because were they at war? No, it was a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, did they decide? I don't know. Is there a hint?
It's pretty tough. So basically, Emperor Theodos the First, I'm sure you're all familiar with him, he banned all pagan festivals. And so the Olympics were considered a pagan festival. And so they were banned starting in the 4th century all the way up till the first modern Olympics. So they didn't happen for a long time. So that leads into my next question, which I'm going to let us finish out this 10-second plank here so Craig can really enjoy it. I don't want to take away from your plank. And then we'll launch
I'm
into
enjoying
this.
this. Keep my hips up.
3, 2, 1, done. Awesome. We'll set for that squat catch press. So when and where were the first modern Olympic Games held? So let's get going on these in 3, 2, 1, and go.
Well, I guess I want to start with the when. So, like how modern? That's what I'm.
So I did this research 10 minutes ago, before the first round. So I haven't looked into it a ton, but what it made it sound like is they were banned. They got banned, and then the Olympics just didn't happen. There wasn't Olympics. It wasn't a thing until the modern Olympics started back up.
Like
and brought back
20th century, like 1902.
You're actually surprisingly
1902.
close. 1896. So that's actually very impressive that you were even that close. Do you know where?
Rome.
Nope. They started it right in Greece, where the Olympics were.
Would make sense,
which is kinda
wouldn't
cool.
it?
Yeah, which is really exciting that they decided to start that tradition back up in its home country. Wonderful. All right, let's set up on the floor. Craig, do you want this band for bicycle crunches?
Only if you do the honors.
They're going to be really sweaty now. The trick is to touch the band but not touch your foot. 2, 1, and go. All right, so back when it was ancient, or I guess maybe that's not the right word, but back in the day, not modern Olympics, do you know how long the games would last?
A month, 30 days.
Longer.
60.
Longer.
90.
Longer.
180.
I mean, I can't compute in months, but 5 to 6 months. That's how long the games would last, which is crazy to even think that because they're obviously much shorter than that now. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if I can't imagine they had more events.
I mean, maybe they didn't do them like maybe it was in one stadium, so like every event, like there was only 1 or 2 events maybe, whereas now there's, a dozen events going on at one time. And
That's true.
they're not all televised.
Right.
To an
That could be.
extent.
That would make sense. All right. Excellent. So slide that band up towards the knees, and we'll get set for those planks. Oh, switch the leg that you start on. I forgot it for the first one, but I'm
No, I did. I remember it for the first.
Wonderful. 2, 1, and go. Yeah. So back to modern Olympics, which we said started back up in 1896. Do you know when women were allowed to compete?
Let's see.
And this is
1912.
not too far off. Actually, 1900, which is really awesome that it was that was the second modern Olympics that women were able to compete, which I was pretty impressed with. I was pretty happy with that. We could compete in the Olympics before we could vote. I don't know if that makes sense, but all right.
That's how history oddly works.
All right. So we'll keep going a few more seconds here. 3, 2, 1, and done. Give you guys a 15-second break. We'll switch. Get Craig going on that other side. All right. And let's go ahead and go in 3, 2, 1, and go. I think running might have been a little bit later than that, though, right? For women?
I don't know. I know women were limited in the distance that they could run, so it wasn't until like fairly recently that women were allowed to race over 3,000 meters, I think. Yeah.
Scientists concluded that women physically couldn't handle running a marathon. And there's a really cool story about this woman who jumped in one kind of illegally to do it and kind of opened the door for other women to step through and compete, and I'm grateful. All right, I'm going to turn my page here off screen awkwardly. Do you know anything about the Winter Olympics?
All the sports need to be competed on snow or ice. Yeah, I think those are the two.
I didn't even know that.
Two standards.
All right, done with these. So let's. Craig
So yeah, I know everything about the Winter Olympics.
I thought you had me side because what is going to happen next with the squats and lunge jumps? Do you need a weight for this?
No.
All right.
Keep the band around.
That's true.
But no, I don't want to.
All right, ready and go. So the how it used to happen is when the Winter Olympics were brought in, which I believe was 1924. They happened the same year as the Summer Olympics. So you'd have summer, winter, boom, boom, right next to each other. Do you know when they separated? Obviously now you have Summer Olympics, and then 2 years later you have
4 years later, when they decided that was a terrible idea.
No, it was 1992. You were. Oh wait, were you even alive?
Yes, I was
Okay.
alive.
Yeah, that's when they separated. And then this is interesting. There were athletes that competed in both. I think this was back in the day. I don't think it happens as much anymore. But how many athletes have won medals in both the summer and winter?
Oh, I came across this fact one time.
Dang it.
But I don't remember.
Almost done.
8.
Nope, half that. All right.
4.
Let's switch to split lunges.
Oh, we're right into it. This is a cardio run.
Craig, I gave him the option of demoing, which we worked on during the break, the lunge shuffle. So if he starts hurting really bad, he's still not doing it.
I just watched her do it. I didn't practice it.
That's true. He said, "Oh,
I'm
got
gonna muscle
that."
through these.
That's right. Don't worry. You only have
It's been
one.
10 seconds. You know.
It's been over 20. You have about. You're over. Halfway. All right. Yeah. So I think so. Only 4 athletes medaled in both, and it sounded like several of those were people who competed within that same year too, which is pretty incredible to have that kind of range. I
You
should
know
have
who they are? Or what sports?
No, I didn't. I know. I should have looked more into that. I wonder if I would imagine like maybe skiing and running.
A lot of-
would be similar.
Yeah, a lot of sprinters become bobsledders.
Oh, wonderful. You guys made it. Awesome. All right, we will be back here in 2 minutes.
quads are burning.
Good. You get the hamstrings right now. Even things out. All
This
right,
one
let's go
burns
ahead.
your quads too. This one gets glutes.
That's true. All right, 2, 1, and go. All right. So we'll get into some more fun stuff. Do you know who the youngest Olympian
Ooh.
was? Or have a guess on age or
Well,
Sports.
now is this before they limited the age? Because now I think it's 14. So is
Yeah.
it 14?
no? It's before they limited it.
12.
No.
10.
Yeah. The 10-year-old. His name is Dimitros Landros. Not the way you pronounce it, I'm sure. He's actually from Greece, which is interesting, and he was a gymnast. Which
Yeah,
is
so the
pretty
youngest
crazy.
athletes are typically
Gymnasts.
gymnasts, yeah.
Yep. Yep. All right, so stay strong through this, folks. We'll be switching over here in about 10 seconds or so.
Is the modern age limit, is it 14? Or is it
I don't know.
16? I feel like it might be 14.
I'm actually not sure. Do you know when that was imposed?
No, not sure. But I know there's a cap now, or
Yeah,
limit.
which is interesting. All right,
Yeah, no, if you're good enough to compete, why
Yeah.
can't you compete?
3, 2, 1, and go. I had an aunt who was a gymnast who was really, really good, and I think when you do it when you're really young, it can be very hard on the body.
Yeah.
So I think that is,
I get it.
I get the balance there, wanting kids to be kids. All right, so there are official languages of the games. Do you know what they are?
English,
English is one.
Mandarin,
Nope. So one of them technically
Greek,
is no. That would be good. It's actually French. I don't know why.
French.
Yeah. So English and French, and then the third is whatever the host country's main language is. All right. So we'll see if you get any of these, but from 1912 to 1948, there was this, I'll call it a category of things that people competed in that are no longer at all associated with the games. All right, get set for that squat catch press.
Nope. Reverse plank.
Just kidding, reverse plank it is.
Curveball.
That's why there's 2 of us here. 3, 2, 1, and go.
What was it? A modern.
So this
Or-
this is not currently associated with the games at all, but this was a whole category of stuff that was. So obviously now it's like you have different sports.
Like drinking games? Did it have to do with alcohol?
No, but that would be
Like
pretty entertaining.
like beer Olympics.
Yeah. No, this is even further detached from any type of game than that. So we think of the Olympics as like physical sports, that kind of thing.
Oh, were there like knowledge games, like how smart you were type
Close.
testing?
Close. It was like art. So there was sculpting, painting, writing. What else did I write down over there? Music was in there too. So I'm not quite sure how those would be judged or what the criteria was like, but that was all the way up until 48. That was a whole thing, and then they took that out of the games. All right, we're done with this plank.
An Olympic gold medalist in painting,
Yeah,
sculpting.
yeah, which is
Now we got the squat catch.
it would be interesting to go back and see what that was actually like.
What they looked like.
Yeah.
What was a gold medal painting?
And go. What was it like, painting a masterpiece as fast as you can?
Was it timed? Was it?
Yeah.
Did you have to like mimic a painting that was already like they presented you with something like who can mimic this the best or
Yeah.
give their creative touch to it or something?
Yeah. It's interesting because art is obviously judged quite differently than, we compete in an event like running that's very cut and dry. You get a number when you cross the line. There's really no way to
Number one.
to change that. So art is obviously very different. But then there is things like figure skating or any type of dancing, stuff like that. Where
Gymnastics. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go here for another. Looks like you guys got 10 seconds. Last set of these, which is fantastic. 3, 2, 1, and done. Awesome, guys. We'll set up for those band bicycles.
Something in my eye.
When like half the time it's like trying not to tear up.
You did good. He just gets emotional about the Olympics. All right, 3, 2, 1, and go. Okay, so in 1936 is when the tradition was started. I believe it was the Berlin Games, where they lit the Olympic torch, and so that's not really an ancient tradition. So, do you know how the torch is lit?
From the previous game.
No,
No?
it's so crazy how it's lit. I had no clue.
With
I'll just tell you guys. So they do like an ancient ceremony in a temple in Greece, and people come and dress up, and it's lit using a mirror and sun rays. So that's how it's lit. There is a backup one lit there as well in the ceremony, lit in the same way. So it's never like ignited by like a lighter or any type of accelerant or anything like that. 3, 2, 1, and done. Good. All right, Craig, what happens after the torch is lit?
They bring it to the host country.
Do you know how they normally bring it
They
to the
like
host?
run it. They relay it.
They relay it, yep. So yeah, usually a lot of runners or a typical way they'll carry it while they're running, but oops, go. Sorry.
I figured I just had
Perfect, that was good typing. But yeah, so it's been transported actually by plane before, by boat, but when it's on land, they're running it, which is kind of cool. And it has actually been to space, not when it was lit, but the torch has been to space to tie in with yesterday. All right. Let's see. Ooh, so this is a good one. I actually didn't know about this, but it makes total sense. Do you know what the 5 rings represent and why they're colored the way they're colored?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what.
So the number 5 is significant. If you're thinking about, let's go 3, 2, 1, done. So the number 5 is significant, and you're thinking about this on a global scale. The Olympics are worldwide.
Continents.
5 inhabited, I should say, continents. All right, 3, 2, 1, and go. Yeah, so that's why there's 5 rings, and they're all linked together, which is pretty cool.
And then do the rings have to do with race or something?
Kind of. So they chose colors. So I believe the colors are red, black, green, white, blue. That's 5, right?
There's a yellow. There's a yellow, right?
Yellow.
Only now like 6 colors, I think.
Whatever the colors are. Did I list them? Nope. But they are the colors are chosen because every nation's flag contains at least one of them. So just an inclusive way to represent every nation's flag, and then to have each continent represented as well. So that's kind of cool. I liked the reason for that.
That is pretty cool.
All right. 3, 2, 1, and done.
Going into my favorite part.
He said that completely seriously. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
And go.
I didn't start with my feet together. So I couldn't like hop out.
Just hop out even wider. So we talked about how originally the games took place over 5 to 6 months. What is it nowadays? Do you know about how long it takes? Like, we'll go off the 2016 games, for example.
Is it 3 weeks? Is it a whole month? Is it 4 weeks?
No.
2 weeks.
Rio was 17 days.
17 days. Okay.
I
So
feel like it
less
should
than 3
take a
weeks.
full month. I feel like that would be better. Do you know how many athletes compete?
Oh, thousands. 1,000.
A lot more than that.
3,000.
More than
10,000.
10,500. All right, almost done with these. 3, 2, 1. Onto the lunge jumps. And go. No break.
Maybe they're just kind of shallow.
Yep, that's fine. Craig's hurting. If you guys are like me, sometimes it's nice to see Craig hurt a little bit, you know? It's always the one dishing out the workouts. All right, how many countries competed or compete, and we'll go off like the last Olympics, which was in Rio?
70.
Way more.
160.
More.
300.
Less.
200.
205. Yep.
205.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see how many have competed, or like how that number has grown.
Yeah.
Do you know how many sports are represented? How many?
70.
No, less.
50.
42.
42 sports.
Some that have been taken out include hot air ballooning, tug of war, dueling pistols, and swimming obstacle races. 3.
And softball
2,
until the 2020
1,
Olympics.
and done. All right. Awesome job, folks. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Quad burner. See you guys.